spin. There's a lag, no matter how, um, fast your internet connection is. Hello, everybody. So, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to No One Unscripted. We're talking about the letter M today. And if you just trot on over, please say hello. Please like, subscribe, comment, be a part of this. We're having a conversation today about M, about markets, madness, and many, 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 many more things that start with M. We are in the middle of such an unprecedented time. So, one of the things that I have been witnessing today and throughout this month and a half is this gross mismanagement of governance, the governance apparatus on many levels in many countries. But I'll just be honest with you at this point. I'm very centered on the United States and India because I currently live in India. I was born in India, but I'm an American citizen. I was educated in the United States, and I am a believer in the American Constitution. And I take my pledge of citizenship seriously. So I have the immediate interest of the 1.7 billion people, and what I'm witnessing now is, and I'm not saying everybody everywhere is mismanaging, but there are people who are in crucial places with massive populations who are kind of falling into the minutia of politics in the middle of a pandemic. And it's very easy to go down the slippery slope of mismanaging this crisis. And once we get it out of hand, it would be very, very, very difficult to manage it again. So I would like to plead to all of the world leaders, please reflect on how you speak to the public. Please put the interest of the people over any other concern, even if it is a temporary thing, even if you can do it for a day, 2 days, refrain yourself, please. I'll give you an example of what's happening, at least where I live. Currently, I live in Calcutta. Calcutta is considered a hotspot in India. And the state of Calcutta, there's been sort of a political strife between the ruling party of the state and the ruling party of the federal government or the central government. And I think it comes down to the central government claiming that the state government isn't reporting the proper numbers, that the procedure for reporting numbers isn't right. And so one of the things that came out of it was this thing of morbidity, cause of morbidity, and comorbidity. So I wanted to at least give you an understanding of what I thought of it, or what I gathered from it. If you think what I'm saying is wrong, please comment. Please say something. I want to know more if I'm not saying what is right. So when someone dies, on the death certificate, there's a cause of death, and the cause of death could be a range of things, right? Something that is like whatever the cause of death is. Now, in this particular case, when someone goes into the hospital, there are many lags, right? Because we don't have spot testing, we don't have rapid testing. Um, I mean, we don't have rapid testing in most of the world, let alone in India. And the West Bengal governance apparatus has been at odds with the central government apparatus for quite some time before this crisis hit. So the smooth movement of both money and essential products is already strained and not happening smoothly for various reasons. Uh, so, say somebody goes to the hospital during this time and they're ill. They have all the symptoms of COVID, but they also have other symptoms like the symptoms of somebody having a kidney problem, or somebody having a cardiac problem, or somebody having some sort of a respiratory problem that pre-existed the coronavirus, like cancer or something like that. And so, and they rapidly die, right? And so, for say in West Bengal, if that number of people, say for in this period of time, this many people have died and have concurrently tested positive for COVID-19, and that number is 52, 53 in one day, or 51, I think, in West Bengal in one day. I think it was reported yesterday. And however, out of those cases, only I don't know, 18 or 19 of them were classified by the state as the primary cause of death being COVID-19. In the other cases, the primary causes of death were heart attack or some other type of kidney failure, some other type of some other type of pre-existing condition before the person contracted COVID-19 that killed them effectively. So now there are so many places here that there are questions, right? Because so if these people didn't know that they were ill before they got COVID and they got sick, then they didn't know they had a pre-existing condition. They had not taken any treatment from it, and so presumptively they would be at risk. And that ranges from anything from somebody who has a pre-existing heart condition they don't know about, or a kidney condition they don't know about, to HIV that they don't know about, to other diseases that debilitate the immune system. Because we know, from what we know of the virus now, it attacks the immune system, and it goes into your lower respiratory system, to your lungs, and there's sort of a blood component to it. There's so much that we don't know about it, that we don't know exactly what it like. For example, if you get malaria, which I had when I was a child, it's a parasite, right? It's not a virus. It's a completely different organism. And you get high fever. There's really no cure for it. There's medicine like paracetamol, and what the world knows now is the famous drug hydroxychloroquine or something like that. I'm not a scientist. I don't know what these names are. But so the attempt of so you can administer these drugs to, I guess, kill the parasite before it multiplies into your system and before it makes you ill. But the reason for death in malaria happens to be very high fevers, and there's really no cure for it, so to speak. Nothing that just goes and kills the parasite right away. But with COVID-19, when someone contracts it, first of all, out of the 10 people who have it on them, or who would by rapid testing test COVID positive, only 2 of them show symptoms. The other 8 don't. That's what current research is showing. So say there are 10 people and 2 of them are sick, and out of 1 of them has a pre-existing condition that they don't know about. Now they both get ill because they've contracted COVID, and they both go to the hospital. And one of them dies of acute respiratory failure and high fever, something that is solely attributed to coronavirus at this point, being if the person is completely otherwise healthy, right? So, and then these 2 people go to the hospital almost together, but the person who has a pre-existing condition dies much quicker, say in 2 or 3 days, but the test is not available to confirm that they're both COVID positive. The way to know that the first person who died early was not COVID positive or died was because they died from something else, like a kidney failure, or because of an immune system crash because of HIV positive, or because of and then pneumonia setting in, or some other reason that caused that to happen, and that they died. The reason and the way how we know that the second person was COVID positive is that they are otherwise healthy, and the only sort of indicator that there was that killed them were these acute symptoms, specific symptoms that can be attributed to coronavirus, which is now officially called SARS-CoV-2, right? So, which is severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2. So that's the muddy part. So these 2. So what's happening in West Bengal is, so when these 2 people die, on the death certificate, because the test results aren't back yet, one of them can be confirmedly said that they died of COVID-19 because they were otherwise healthy, and these specific symptoms of COVID-19 is what killed them. But the state and the medical apparatus isn't comfortable in West Bengal to say that the first person who died earlier died because of COVID-19, because the test isn't available. The test result isn't back yet, number 1. And number 2, their immediate cause of death was either kidney failure or heart failure or immune system crash and pneumonia. Nothing to do with specifically the lungs, right? Which is the acute symptoms of coronavirus. So this brings to the quandary the medical ethical question of what does the doctor or the state say about somebody dying of something that they cannot fully confirm was COVID-19, but at the end it turns out that they were both COVID positive. So the question turns on whether coronavirus was a determinative factor in that person's death. Not whether it was the primary factor, and most definitely not because it was an incidental factor. Because, yeah, it exaggerated, we don't know, but it has to be a determinative factor in the sense that the question should be whether or not, if the person hadn't gotten COVID-19 at this point, would they have died? If the answer to that question is a yes, if the answer to that, let me go back. See, because I'm going off completely off my head, and it's a big topic. So now, where was I? COVID-19 and, well, let me drink some water. This is, I mean, it's madness, right? It's madness. So, I was saying, now remember, the determinative question is that, but for COVID-19, would this person have died? Without COVID-19, would this person have died? Right? That should be the question. Not whether it's the primary cause. Because you see, if it's a primary cause, say it's a heart attack that causes it, but the person wouldn't have had a weakened heart if they didn't have a weakened pulmonary system that didn't supply enough oxygen to the blood, that fatigued the body, that caused more strain on the heart, that caused the heart to fail because the heart was pre-existingly weak. Versus with another person who had COVID-19 who died because their immune system just couldn't take it. They were otherwise healthy. Out of that second category, by the way, most people recover. Is what West Bengal's numbers show. That if 51 people are dead and 19 of them are otherwise healthy, but they died acutely of coronavirus and not because of coronavirus being the aggravating factor of a pre-existing condition, then it shows that a lot of people who are cured happen to be in that category. So that should be the real measure of what the mortality rate of coronavirus is. I mean, at least from a lay perspective. The second category brings to question the ethical question, where the pre-existing condition is weakened and debilitated because of the attack of the coronavirus on the body. Now, in that question, the question should be whether coronavirus was determinative, right? So that depends on to what level that person's pre-existing illness had progressed. So, and that's a medical question. And this is all in real time. We're not talking about something that happened yesterday that will happen again in the next. No, it's happening now. We need to be able to figure this out now. So, the question, that minutia, and that's maddening, and it's creating madness everywhere, and it's creating this political, but I mean, scientists need to answer these questions as quickly as possible. I plead to the scientists of the world to please answer these specific questions that I'm asking. I plead to the World Health Organization and the CDC and the Indian Ministry of Health and the NHS in the United Kingdom and all of the public health departments in the world to really answer these questions as to because if we really want to know what the morbidity of the mortality rate of this is, to be able to contain it, the answer may not be specifically going after it like this, but also going after it, yes, but also to be able to see that we need to be able to screen our people better. We need to be able to provide healthcare to people. We need to be able to realize that food security, shelter security, and healthcare security are fundamental human rights at a time when the world has never been richer. It has never been more advanced. It has never, at least that we know of, I mean, in recorded history. And so, I mean, somewhere in the hearts of the leaders of the world, the politicians of the world, there has to be some sort of a desire to have something goddamn left to lead. So, because you're nothing if no one leads, and the world is nothing if there are no people. You don't understand how crucial people are in this in the life in Bengal. It's all over India. There's so much food. There's a surplus. There's a harvest surplus, but there's the food isn't coming. Why? Because people are scared. People are petrified to go out. Because the government apparatus doesn't know, and the medical apparatus doesn't know, and they're not asking the right questions. And they're not letting the people know what the right questions are. They're not explaining to the people what the right questions are. So I plead the Chief Minister of West Bengal, Mamata Banerjee, please, Mashi, please, I plead you, enforce that the scientists of West Bengal ask these questions, and as soon as possible, create an apparatus that can distinguish between these various different categories that are causing people to die during the pandemic. I think if you ask these questions, it will be able to clarify a lot of the political cloud that has descended upon this state while we take care of the people who desperately need us, who are the poorest among us, who are deserted here on the streets, who don't have anything to eat. Whether or not any of the live things are true or not, the recorded videos are true or not, I'm telling you, I'm real. This is my room. These are my two amazingly annoying and loving puppy dogs. And I paint and I write and I'm crawling out of my skin worried about the people of the world. And I mean, Bengal is where I was born, you know. Bengal is where I was born. Bengal runs through my blood. My soul is American and my body is Bengali, you know. And India has been gracious enough to give me a place to come and find respite at a time where when things were very dysfunctional for me. And I have this thing in my mind that I have a duty to talk about it, and at least if one person hears it, at least if they think that there's some value to it, they'll tell another person, and that person may talk to somebody who can get it to the heads of the people who could actually ask these questions. And you know, yeah. So I've talked about so many M's, right? Mismanagement, morbidity, comorbidity, the madness and the mania, and where we stand. And those are the pointers I have. I mean, without that, I can't. I mean, there are a lot of M's. You know, I was thinking about what am I going to talk about, and it took me a while. And I'm thinking about words from M, and all of these things came in because I'm watching this madness happen, and I don't blame any of the parties, and I blame miscommunication. I blame lags in communication. I blame our egos, our collective egos, our positional egos, you know, our constitutional egos. I think all of that need to be self-humbled, refrained, made to come to heel by us now before the pandemic really takes off and kills more and creates more discord, and slowly the entire societal apparatus starts to collapse. So I want to leave you all with a spiritual thing, and you may hate me for it, but exercise self-control. On the walls of kings and palaces all throughout history, you will see the fleur de lis, a lily flower in French, in English, fleur de lis in French. That was the symbol of self-restraint that always went on the banners of monarchs. And maybe that was lost in time, but it was to remind not the people, but the monarch that one of their tenets is self-restraint. And if we are a democracy, if we are moving to a world where we become a democracy, a global democracy, then, I mean, country democracies, don't think that I'm thinking one government. We're not there yet. But democracies in respective countries, real democracies, then we have to be able to fuck, I lost my train of thought again. Oh, I hate my life. Oh, yeah. Moderation, self-control. We need to be able to go back to those times where we really paid attention to the philosophies of moderation, of self-control, of self-restraint, um, of changing our habits, of shedding our desires and wants, and realizing what our needs are. I know what my needs are. My needs are internet, my puppies, some food, a place to sleep, good weed. Um, you know, so these are my needs. These are my needs, and paint. Uh, and even a canvas and all those things. So, um, in the midst of all of this, in Sanskrit, in Vedic history, Vedic anthropology, it's known as Maya. Maya being an illusion, but spiritually, this earth that in which we live is a very small part of the grand universe in which we live, and spiritually, even this life, all of our egos, all of our wantings, these are all Maya, these illusions, right? In Buddhism, that was one of the things that Buddha realized through his life, is that he was sheltered in abundance for the first 18 years of his life because he was a prince and his father didn't want him to see all the pain and sorrow in the world. And then on the 18th birthday, he was married, he had a child, and then on his 18th birthday, he was given the leave to go out of his kingdom. And he went out of his kingdom day after day, and he saw pain, and he saw suffering, and he saw death, and he saw poverty, and he saw these things that devastated him. Much like what's happening in the world right now is devastating so many people who have had sheltered lives, who weren't prepared for this. And they're coming to really grim terms with their reality. But what did Buddha do? What did the Buddha do? He decided that no, I'm not going to stay sheltered in my palace and let this suffering happen. I'm going to also live this life. No, I'm not going to go and aid everybody's suffering. I don't have that capacity. Buddha understood that. And he wasn't going to compromise his kingdom to, he wasn't going to compromise his kingdom to, and the welfare, the physical, gross, biological needs, welfare of his people for his own spiritual freedom. So he had to give it up. And he had to bare bone down to nothing but a piece of cloth and what he found he could eat. And he went through this journey of his life, and he wrote it down, and then he spread it all around the world. And today Buddhism is one of the major religions of the world, about 2,000 years old. It's one of the newest religions of the world, 2,500 years old. But the tenets of it are so pure, it's distilled, right? His philosophies came out of him, but they were distilled, and they were they coincided with the Vedic philosophies. The Vedic philosophies at their very core. Now, I don't know. I haven't studied about Buddha's life specifically. I don't know if he was an expert in the Vedic scripts or not, that this was the way to live. But what he showed from his life, and if you ever go to Bodh Gaya, if you go to where his temple is in Bodh Gaya, or if you go to Sarnath, where his stupa was, where he gave his first sermon, or if you go to any of his other places, you'll see the stories of him. He went through these struggles, and there was a point where he questioned the need to eat, and he questioned the need to eat, and there came a point that he didn't eat for so long, and then he just realized that no, this was a necessity, right? I need to eat, and then he needed a tree under which he could lie down. At this point, there's nobody watching me. At this point, there's nobody watching me in the whole world. and the world is awake, and I'm loving it. I mean, this is solitude, right? This is reality. And we need to find peace and moderation in this time. We need to find peace in within our minds, uh, in what we love doing and in what we do. We mustn't be restless. We must cherish this time. I mean, think about it, people. You guys have all, I mean, guys, girls, everything in between, whomever you are, you all have wanted to take some time off. You all have said, oh my God, if I had some time off, I would want to draw some. If I had some time off, I would do some photography. You know, one of my cousins sent me an image of her doing a painting during this time. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. You know, she's good. She's really good. She's a dentist, you know. She's a dentist and she's a damn good dentist. These two are fake. And she's painting. Go back to it, you know. Go play some chess. Go play some video games. Go play with your dogs. Plant some plants, some tomatoes, because you might need it. You're gonna need it. You better start learning how to make pasta, like pasta from scratch, and not with the KitchenAid. No. Yeah. So to all you rich people, you know, to all you public people who just feed off of people watching you, you know, I understand it. I understand the zeal. Even if one person comes in and out, I'm like, oh, look. There's one person, look, hey, thanks. Come, please join. Watch my madness. Yeah. So I'm going to end now by saying that, you know, be mindful of other people in moderation. Wear masks, because this is the M. This is the M series. This is the M episode of No One Unscripted. So there are 12 others before it. And please, I wish you all safety. Wear your masks. If you're going out, wear gloves too. Wear masks. If you're wearing, you know, you can make cloth masks at home, as shown by the amazingly sexy Matthew McConaughey, who I have a total crush on. But you know, whatever. Wishful thinking. If I would ever say hi to him, and he would say hi back. Not that I've ever said hi. Yeah. Shit, I'm going on 32 minutes now ranting. This is gonna be good. Okay, so I'm gonna end saying, be safe, be mindful, work in moderation. Go check out the signs. I implore all of the people, all the leaders of the world, to please not overdo it with your ego. You know, you can shelf it for a moment now. Shelf it. You know, you call Boris Johnson and ask him how he's doing with his ego once he recovers, and then, you know, maybe he can give you some guidance as to what this is. Mind you, Boris Johnson was an extremely otherwise healthy person. That's me connecting back to the first topic of morbidity and all of that. Anyway, please watch, subscribe, like, dislike. You can dislike. It's okay. I don't care. As long as you watch and you dislike and comment. Thank you. Goodbye.